Hey, my friend, welcome to the Life Switch Show. I am Adam Kowalik, and if you do not know that, I work as a business mindset coach. Now, besides that, we are on this show to talk about switches and changes and transformations in life. And today's guest is Nausheen, and we're going to be talking about we're going to have a great conversation. We're going to be talking about how to pivot or pivoting in your career. But trust me when I say this, I am sure this is not just going to be a random conversation about jobs and careers. It's going to be so much more. Now, if you're joining on YouTube, if you're watching from YouTube, you do not want to forget to like and subscribe and click that notification bell. That way, every time we go live, you get notified. Plus, every time we put out anything else, you also get notified. And if you're watching on Facebook, please make sure that you're liking and following my Facebook page, Adam Kowalik, Business Mindset Coach. Now, as I said, my guest this week, today, is Nausheen. And she's an energetic, positive, and entrepreneurial woman who works as a corporate coach, speaker, and trainer. She helps companies build strong teams that feel empowered to communicate, share, and actively be part of a company. Now she helps build harmonious work environments. She is also a certified DISC behavioral analyst and mindset coach, helping her clients achieve anything they want professionally and also personally. Give Nausheen a big welcome.
Hey,
and there
everyone.
we go.
Hi.
Cool. Now, I know this is not just going to be a conversation about careers and jobs, as I said. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you're way, way bigger than that. Like the story, your background, the change and transformation you have, it's bigger than that. Plus, we happen to be in the same industry, the same, space, which I always find then very interesting to have a conversation about. So that's why I'm kind of like, obviously, pivoting your career, that's a hook. I just wanted people to get hooked on this. We're going to go deeper than that, I think. So welcome. It's nice to have you here.
It's great to be here as well. I'm so happy.
Good. Well, this is not a new thing for you. You told me right before we got on here that, you've done a couple of podcasts. This is a new thing. I mean, not a new thing. This is something that you're more familiar with.
Yeah, I've been a guest on several podcasts now. I really enjoy the conversation, the learnings, and the ability to spread whatever we're talking about to more people, right?
Yeah, precisely. Now, have you ever done a live podcast before?
I did. Yeah. I
Cool.
think one or two times, not often.
Yeah. It's nice. It adds, I think, that extra dimension to, you can't cut things away necessarily. And, it
Raw.
just, yeah, it is. But it's also good. And, for anyone who's joining right now, if you're joining on YouTube, if you're joining on Facebook, let us know where in the world you are. I'm lucky enough to have viewers from, scattered all around the world a bit. So, in the comment sections, you can just leave a comment and tell me where you are. That way we can pull up that on the screen. And if you have questions, if you have ideas that you want to share with us, you can also leave those as comments in those sections. That way we can bring that into the screen. So if you've got questions for Nausheen or me, we'd be more than happy to answer those questions. Cool. And as you said, I think one of the biggest reasons why people love live shows is just because of that. It's just raw. It's real. Anything can happen and anything will.
Yeah, and I love that. And I love the fact that they can ask questions as well, right? So they're getting their answers right away. They don't have to wait or wonder. And I love that. So I really want to encourage anyone, if you have any questions, just pop it in the comments.
There we go. And that's another really beautiful thing about this. This is not necessarily just a Zoom call where you can join and watch a conversation or something. This is really, as you said, you can ask your questions and we can pull them up because we're using StreamYard. I've got my production team, Cruise Creative, doing this, so they help me with that. Because you're not seeing my hands going like, oh, hang on, I'm just going to read the comments and be all over focused on something else. That's the beauty of doing doing the way we're doing this show, for sure.
Right. You're in the moment and they have the
Oh
team
yeah,
at the back to help.
yeah, exactly. That's an amazing thing. So now, Sheen, can you tell me? Can you tell anybody who's joining the show right now? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I think you've introduced me quite well. Uh, I have two parts of my business. I'm a corporate coach and trainer. So I train employees to feel better in their team, to empower their team, to increase productivity and on leadership as well. And I also work with individuals on the personal development side. So a lot about mindset, a lot about growth, and a lot about going after what you want, really. So this is a little bit about me in a nutshell now. Prior to that, I was a corporate coach and trainer for a company. And before that, I was a business development manager at Microsoft for many years. This has been the core of my career before shifting to my own business, which is what I really wanted to do. A little bit on the personal side, I absolutely adore animals. That's my number one passion. And I also love to keep fit and healthy. I think that's very important.
It is indeed. Do you love all animals, or do you have a preference?
Oh no, I love all animals. I do prefer dogs, but I love all animals. I'm just an animal lover at heart.
That's
And
amazing.
also, I am in Toronto. I forgot to mention that. So I'm in Toronto, but originally from the island of Mauritius.
Amazing. That's exotic. So, how
Yeah,
are you liking the weather in Toronto?
I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to it. The sun is coming back, so I'm happy about that.
That's good. That's good. Have you? How long have you been living in Toronto?
I moved in 2019, so it has just been 2 years last month. So I had a normal year, and then I had a year of COVID.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I'm saying. I'm still adapting because
yeah.
I didn't get to visit a lot because of the lockdown.
Of
But that's
course.
okay. It's an experience.
Well, it's obviously I personally never been to Canada, but being from Sweden, we share very similar
Yeah.
climate. So I know how the spring or the autumn, and especially the winters can be.
Hmm.
That's not always a nice thing, especially not where I'm from. It always rains even during summer. So yeah.
I think that's the difference maybe between Sweden and Canada. Now that you're saying it rains here, even if it's snowing or after the snow, it's still sunny. That's what I
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
compared to
that's
the
good.
rainy weather, which is a little bit dull.
Yep. Oh yes, definitely, definitely. Well, good, great. And so you're based in Toronto. How much
Okay.
of your work, like, do you do like physical work with companies, or is it online? How does that work?
So I went into my business full time last year. So all the business that I've been doing has been virtual. So initially, what I know and what I do can be done physically, but because of COVID, I turned it all virtual. So all the workshops that I lead, the coaching that I do, everything is virtual. And all my clients have been outside of Canada, funnily, in the US or in the other side of the world.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you mentioned that you've done your own pivot in your career. You
Hmm.
worked in Microsoft before.
Hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? I mean, obviously, you wanted to start your own business. How did that whole switch happen? Is that something you would like to share?
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people can benefit from that if they're going through the same thing. So I'm rolling up my sleeves here because
Yeah, because now we're going to get to work.
so basically, I was working for Microsoft for many years as a business development manager. I absolutely loved it because it provided an environment where I could thrive. There were inspiring people around me. I was traveling the world as part of my job, so everything I had everything. But at the same time, working for a big company like that, I had the opportunity to attend a lot of trainings um, all over the world, but also on my own. I was investing in my own personal development. And as I discovered more and more that world, I started to understand that this was a passion of mine. And this is ultimately what I would want to do with my life. I absolutely love that, being able to empower others, coach them, make them wake up and realize, hey, there's more to your life. There's more to you than what you're currently seeing, because this is what it has been for me. So in 2018, actually in 2017, Microsoft goes through this reorg worldwide. Everything changes. I'm lucky enough, I get a better job. I fit right into the new structure and things like that. I'm so happy. And then in 2018, right a year after, my role is made redundant because they're centralizing everything and I lose my job. And that was one of the harshest time in my life because like I knew that this was a possibility working for a big tech company where things evolve all the time, right? Technology evolves all the time. They have to adapt. We have to adapt. So when it came, it was still hard, even though I knew it could happen. And the good thing was that, so that happened in July 2018. Before that, a month before that, I got my permanent residency for Canada. So I was like, oh my God, that's a blessing in disguise. Got my residency to Canada, lose my job, going through the toughest time. But at the same time, because I had been through all these personal development trainings, in my mind, I already knew that this was an opportunity for me to go do what I want, compared to others who sometimes when they lose their job, they will just think, "Oh, I need to find another job. I just need to get on the job market again." In my mind, it was, "Hey, here's your chance. Here's your opportunity to go do what you love." And this is how I started to pivot to doing what I love. So the next year I was off. I just took some time off. To get my certification. I got certified in March of 2019 as a coach, speaker, and trainer from the John Maxwell team, and then moved to Canada. And even when I came to Canada, people told me, "Hey," or what I've heard mostly was, "Hey, you're starting over. You might have to lower your standard and you may not get the same similar things as you were getting before. You might have to start from scratch." But again, having been through all that personal development, having that mindset and knowing that whatever I think of, I can create, knowing that I can be who I want to be if I have the courage to go after that and focus on that. That's what I did. I focused on being a corporate coach and trainer and staying in that industry. And I got a job within a few months, within a few weeks actually, from the time I started looking. And then I became a coach and a trainer for that company. It was called Cadence Leadership. Absolutely loved it. I was traveling again. And then COVID hit in 2020, and I lose my job again in March of last year. And this time, also a hard time to go through because this time I was not anticipating it. A week before losing my job, we actually had a call where the owner of the company told us, "You don't have to worry, we're financially stable." And then a week after, because things were changing so much, so fast, right? And a week after, I didn't have a job. So that was a tough one to take in. But again, here, I was like, okay, that is a sign for me to start my own business, because ultimately this is what I really wanted to do, to be able to do what I love and how I want to do it. And so here's my story, the pivot from corporate to doing what I love to doing what I love in my own business. And it's been a fantastic ride since then. Lots of challenges, lots of struggle. It's not been all smiles and rainbows, but I'm doing what I love, and that makes me happy and it makes me fulfilled.
Yeah.
And the highlight of it is, during that year of COVID, I was able to recover 93% of my income, which I am pretty proud of.
You should be. That's good.
Yes, so that's a little bit about my path.
Yeah. Have you always known, who you are and what you want to do in life?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know that I was completely oblivious to that world of personal development. I didn't know at all what it was. And it is when I started to, I had actually a mentor back home, which I got to meet through family and friends from a network marketing business that my family was part of. And it is through his trainings that I started to learn more about myself, about the mind, about how the world works. And this is how I understood, hey, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I love. And this is what I'm meant to bring to the world. like I said, I was completely oblivious to that part. Growing up, I wanted to be a vet. I love animals, right? But I didn't like biology, so that was not that was not an option for me. I love mathematics, so I actually studied actuarial science and in Malaysia. And then when I came back home, I didn't do anything around that. I went straight into business development. So no, I did not know what I wanted to do. I think it's a process, right? It's a process of investing in yourself, expanding your knowledge, expanding your awareness so that you can then start to say, hey, this is what I like. Let me look into that a little bit more. And it's a process to find what you want to do.
Yeah, that's a good point, I think. I mean, the reason why I'm asking is you sounded very, very almost confident. That like, well, I'm doing what I love, and I'm grateful for that. I knew inside of me that I could do something. I wanted to do something. Those are amazing insights and amazing places to come from. And at the same time, I've had my own shifts and transformations in life, and it's not always been super clear where you're coming from, what it is that you want. So I was just curious to see, what has been your experience in terms of.
Yeah. And I have to say, even when the pivot happened, right, I lose my job the first time, I knew that I wanted to do this. But then when I get my certification, I learn more about that whole world. There are so many different aspects to it. So that's a whole new level of what specifically do I want to do? Where specifically do I want to work? Who do I want to work with? So it's not as easy as I said it earlier, but it came from a place of that's my calling and that's what I want to do. And then you figure things out, and things have changed. Over the past year, I didn't start with one thing, and today I'm doing the exact same thing. What I'm doing today is completely different than what I did at the beginning of the year, at mid of last year, and at the beginning of last year. So
That's amazing.
it's a constant. I think adaptability is something that we all need to work on. That was actually one of the pillars at Microsoft, being adaptable. And especially in this world is something that we really need to make sure we develop, because things are evolving around us. If we are not adapting, we're not evolving, we're going to be left behind.
Yeah, I can see that. I like what you're saying. I think that's an important point, that the thing you're doing now is not necessarily the same thing you started a year ago, right? Because I think that me being a coach or being in my own business, and other people being in very similar situation, I'm sure that if you're too static and if you're too rigid around who you are and what you do and who you do it for, you might miss out on on the movement of the shifts and transformations going on around you.
Yes.
And I think resilience is another word I think that sometimes is important as well. Adaptability, of course, and then resilience to get back up once things do happen, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Like, getting back up is the number one thing an entrepreneur should learn.
I like.
That's the baseline, the foundation,
Yeah,
right?
that's good.
I always say that in entrepreneurship, and I think it applies for life as well, you fail your way to success. A failure is part of success. But then again, when you think about failure, it's only temporary, right? Because you learn to get back up, and every time you get back up, you're stronger. And every time you get back up, you've learned something, you're going to do something different. I think that's the beauty of it. And we learn to embrace the process, but it's
Yeah.
something that we build through resiliency.
That's a good point. I often say that failure is just feedback, right?
Yeah.
It's just a label, right? It's Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. He's quoted to have said at one point, like someone asked him, how does it feel to have failed so many times, right? I can't remember how many times. It's like 100, 1,000, whatever. And he said, no, I didn't fail. I just came up with, many, many, many different materials that do not light a light bulb.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the
He
mindset.
came up with, I think, thousands of ways not to do that.
Yeah, precisely. So, if you look at it as feedback, you label it differently, the meaning changes. And if the meaning changes, your experience will change. It's
Absolutely. I
really,
couldn't
you
agree more
know,
with that.
life as we know it is just a series of meanings that we assign to it. And if you can get into that meaning assignments and you can change the meaning, you're going to change the whole experience.
Yes, that is so powerful. Absolutely powerful. And I love how you call it feedback and you associate it with meaning.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're saying that. I honestly believe that. Like, as you said, well, usually what I'll say is failure is not failure. It's another word on F. And people go like, no, not that word. It's feedback, right?
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is. And once you start realizing that, I think you can relax a little bit. Think about Thomas Edison, how he possibly liked coming up with these materials that could not light the light bulb because he knew he was one step closer. And this goes into sales as well. Like there is a saying, a yes lives in the land of no. Right, the person with the biggest, most no's is also the one who has the most yes.
Yes.
It's often that thing, fail hard, fail fast, and get back up. So yeah, I think it's very, very important, especially as an entrepreneur these days. I think it's very, very positive to have adaptability and resilience.
Absolutely. And reframing that word failure is very powerful.
Yeah.
Failure to feedback. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to adopt that.
Oh yeah, go for it. Go for it. We have a question from Sarah. We're gonna bring it up, and I think this is, Nausheen, something that you could probably talk to. So for anyone who's listening, I'm just going to read this out loud. So, what do you think is the most difficult thing in being a business owner versus working a corporate job?
Oh, that is such a big one. I think the most difficult things for me, because I've known the corporate world for many years, is as a business owner, I have now to say, hey, this is what I need to do. And there are days where I don't have as much to do. And especially coming from an IT world where things are evolving fast, you always have something to do. It's very fast. The entrepreneurship world is a lot more laid back for me, and I'm sure it's not the same experience for all entrepreneurs, but it's a lot more laid back. So I have to reconcile the fact that if I'm not busy 100% of the time and I don't feel overwhelmed, that's okay. Actually, that's good. I think that was the biggest one for me when it comes to that switch, right? A business owner versus corporate world. And also the fact that when you're in the corporate world, you already know what you've got to do. You've got the job, you have the job description, you have your manager, you have the company's vision. Business owner, you do all of that by yourself. And if you don't have any experience in business, you're learning as you're going. And that'd be tough as well. Because one of the things I think that business owners do, and I was there too, is like you said, I was talking about, I knew what I wanted to do. I love that. I was passionate about that. I wanted to do what I was passionate about. But here's what I'm passionate about. To bring that to life in a business requires a whole new set of skill, which is business building, that I had to learn. And that's why I said when I started my business, it started in a different way, and then it changed, and then it changed, and then it changed. Still changing. And even business who are already settled, they continue to change as well as the world changes. So that's one of the things that was tough as well, learning that whole business building side and knowing, hey, determining this is what I have to do, this is what I have to outsource, this is where I need to show up, and so on and so forth. Quite different from the corporate world where everything is kind of set up for you. Almost. At least you have a foundation. Here you're building a foundation yourself.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It really needs you to bring that inner leader out, build on your leadership skills.
I mean, I 110,000% agree with you. That was exactly my same experience. Like I sometimes refer to myself as a workaholic. I used to work so much. And I used to work for IKEA, the Swedish furniture company you might have
Yeah.
heard of.
Yeah, we have it
And
here.
yeah, and I worked a lot, and there was no end really to it. So when I stopped working for IKEA and started my own business, I kind of applied the same mentality or the same work ethics, and it would burn me out almost, because
Hmm.
the difference with having an employment, especially for a corporate job, I think is, there is a schedule.
Yeah.
You go in, you go out, and usually, depending on what you do, but you can sort of leave work where work belongs.
Hmm.
Sometimes you check emails and other things as well, but overall, as a business owner, you can easily work Monday morning till Sunday night without
Absolutely.
breaks,
Hmm.
right? So I totally agree with you. One being like, slow things down, that busyness isn't always
Hmm.
equal good money, right? Sometimes it's actually not being so busy that can then generate ideas, creativity, and lead to greater gains. And also, as you said, to put structures in place, build a
Yeah.
business, right?
Absolutely. And I love what you're saying here. Business does not equal money, at least not in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because you are also the creator in your business, and to be able to tap into that creative power, sometimes you just need to say, hey, I'm not going to do anything today, and don't do anything.
Precisely. I mean, because that could be the very thing that you do that then leads to something new, right?
Exactly.
NASA, the space program in
Hmm.
the United States, they have this thing they call the three Bs. B,
Hmm.
the letter B, and basically they discovered or uncovered the fact that there are certain times and areas in someone's life where creativity seems to flow,
Hmm.
and they call it the three Bs, and that is bedrooms, buses, and bathrooms. So what they're saying is basically that once you disengage from hard work and you
Hmm.
move away from that, usually when you go to bed or you wake up or you're in a bus, which is, it's also a car, it's any vehicle, but they had to find a B word, so they said like bus.
Yeah.
But it could be on a plane, it could be on a train, it could be in a car. And also the bathroom, when you take a
Hmm.
shower or you're putting makeup on or whatever you're doing there, it's when we do something completely different from the hard work, the focused
Hmm.
work. That's when the brain makes those connections that we could not force.
Absolutely.
And NASA, they kind of understood that. So they actually, like, they have this saying or this thing where they go like, they work as hard as they can and they get to a point where they kind of feel like, no, this is as far as we can go. Okay, guys, let's break up and get back tomorrow. Normally, someone else would just push forward and just like,
Yeah.
no, we're so close. We need to. No, this is a great time for us to break off and come back fresh tomorrow, or whatever, a couple of hours. And
Absolutely.
I used to work with a client. He actually came up with a fourth B. So he said the beach as well, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I have to agree. Like, if you think about it, bedrooms, buses, bathrooms, and the beach. Yeah, that makes sense. Great ideas come to me there. So
Absolutely.
I just think it's, that was something I needed to learn, is to, I can focus very intently, but then also have the discipline and have the trust, the faith to
Hmm.
disengage and sometimes allow the creativity find me.
Yeah. That's very true. And one thing that I learned specifically around when we focus too much and we're not able to reach where we want to solve the problem or find the solution to whatever we're working on, we tend to get stressed, right? And we're like restless. We need to find the solution. We need to find a solution. The longer we stay in that, what happens is when we're stressed, and I learned this from Dr. Bruce Lipton. He says that the blood in our brain goes at the back, and so that completely switch off our logical brain, and so we're not able to think when we're under stress. That's why very often, and maybe some of the viewers will be able to relate to that. Sometimes you're in a meeting, perhaps an interview. You've done an interview. They ask you a question, and you answer it, and the moment the interview finishes, you're like, "Oh, I should have said that. This is so much better." It's because in that moment you felt stressed and you picked up the first thing that came in your mind, and you were not able to access all the resources that you actually had. So yeah, it's very important to be able to activate that brain again and relax, access all the resources that we have, so that we're able to bring our best into our businesses.
Precisely. We've got, Agatha saying beach and bath works for me every time. Yeah, there you go.
It does.
The
I, I,
B
I
words.
recently watched a video from Jim Quick. He talks a lot about the brain,
Yeah.
and he said that one of the creative space where we get our ideas is actually in the shower.
Yeah,
Like we mentioned,
precisely.
the bath,
That's
right?
exactly what it is. And I
Yeah.
think if I remember this correctly, I might even need to use James here as a reference because he's a movie buff as me.
Mm-hmm.
Apollo 13 is a movie, but also based on real events.
Yeah.
And if I remember this correctly, there is a scene they're trying to bring the astronauts home from
Mm-hmm.
this, horrible situation they're in the Apollo 13. And they have a scene in that movie where one of the scientists, he comes up with a solution to the problem. I think when he's in the bathroom or in the shower, it's somewhere around that. And that is supposedly a true story. So the guy who actually kind of came up with this whole idea, he came up with it in the shower because, and the reason why is there was a hose, like a shower hose.
Yeah.
And he realized, oh, that's on the Apollo 13. We can use that to do whatever we needed to do. So it's not just the fact that, his brain relaxed. It's the fact that where he was, he came up with a solution, realizing, oh, we have this. So yeah, it's amazing. But definitely, there is I know I mentioned this before on one of the other episodes. There's a brilliant book called, and now it completely disappeared. It's called Performance. It's going to come back to me. Just disappeared because I got stressed. So I forgot it, right? Peak Performance. Peak Performance. It's written by two guys. I can't remember their names. And it's a really good book because they talk about there's a formula to performance. There's a formula for growth and development.
Yeah.
And they say the formula is stress plus recovery equals growth.
Oh, I love
Right?
that.
Because you can't have growth without certain amount of stress, but also recovery. Take away one, and you're not going to have growth. Have all stress, no recovery, you're going to have catabolic situation going.
You're gonna
If you
burn
have
out.
yeah, if you only have recovery, you're not going to get much stronger or grow from that either. Right, so it's when you combine stress plus recovery that you actually have growth and development and performance.
That's a
Now,
great formula.
oh, it's a great one, and the book is great as well. And they say this can be applied to everything. It's not just physical growth, which you would understand if you go to the gym and you lift heavy weights and you grow from that.
Yeah.
This applies to the intellectual and mental world as well. It's the same thing. Just as we've been talking about, you read a book and you study hard, then you need recovery. You need to walk away so the brain can, sort of accumulate and assimilate yeah. So, because if all you do is just keep adding stuff in, you're not gonna effectively remember it.
It's not
So
possible.
I think that's another thing to really remember. If we're working in a very high stress environment, remember to also balance that with recovery. Because human beings, as we are very resilient. I'd say we can withstand a lot of things.
Yes.
But do not let that be, don't fool yourself thinking that just because you can stand it, it has no effect, that it doesn't come with a cost. And now I'm obviously speaking from personal experience. I burnt out thinking, no, I'm immortal. That's not going to bother me. And it did eventually. So realizing that you can handle quite a lot of stress and you want to make sure that you also recover from that. And then you're going to grow instead. So yeah, I think it's just
That's
a
true. And
smart formula.
and when you're mentioning that recovery part, one of the things that I like to share usually with people, something very simple that they can do for example, in that interview or in the meeting where they're not able, or they're under high stress, just to recover. If they don't have like 30 minutes to recover, just do the breathing exercise, the 3-3-5 breathing exercise. Breathe in for 3 seconds, hold for 3 seconds, and breathe out by your mouth for 5 seconds, and repeat that 3 times. That relaxes your body, and it really allows you to access all the resources that you have. That has been a great one for me. Like, even when I'm speaking in front of an audience sometimes, like, I love speaking in front of an audience, I still get nervous, right? I always do that. Yeah, so that's a big one too, for a quick recovery in between.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and I can even tell you, like, that is definitely something that I apply myself, and I often say to people as well, because if you look at it, when you go into stress, fight, flight, or freeze mode, the amygdala gets activated and it starts, pushing out cortisol and adrenaline. Usually, what happens is that your body get tense, you get sweaty, you get all kinds of physical, things happening with you. Yeah, and it's so funny because the same way that, like, the mind is thinking you're in a stressful situation, then it starts all those physical experiences. You can reverse engineer that. So if you create a physical response that is signaling that you're calm, your mind's going to go, hang on, I guess we're calm, so I'll just down-regulate cortisol and adrenaline. So that's why when we breathe, and especially not hyperventilate, because someone could argue, well, I'm breathing. Yeah, no, not quite. You want to breathe really deep belly breaths, right? Those almost like a sigh, something that is comfortable. You do that a couple of times, as you said, 3-3-5, and you're basically telling the brain, like, look. Calm down. Obviously, I'm relaxed, so no need this false alarm. You don't need to, get all crazy here. And it actually starts shutting down and then giving back the control to the prefrontal cortex, where we, make the better decisions and remember stuff.
Absolutely. I love
Breath, such a powerful one.
It is. That's my go-to, the breathing. I also love smiling. Smiling is such a big one because it also sends the signals to your brain, hey, she's happy. There's nothing to be stressed about.
There you go.
I actually used that in one of the situations I was in. Should I share? Do we have time?
Oh yeah, go for it. I love it.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with business or corporate, but
good.
I said I was passionate about animals, right? So I was in Mauritius back then, and we have a huge problem with strays in Mauritius. So I helped them. When I was there, I used to always carry food, rescue them, find home for them, and things like that. And one day, the animal welfare of Mauritius, they catch the strays and they kill them. It's called animal welfare. I don't know why, but yeah. So they caught some of the strays that I used to feed regularly close to my house. So I found out after 10 days. I thought they were just around; they'll be back. But I found out after 10 days. The next day, I go there to release them, and you have to pay to release them. And as I go in that place, and for me, that was hell on earth because it's just a lot of dogs. Some of them bleeding, some of them sick, no food, barely enough water, in all these rooms, no roofs. And it was just so painful for me to be there. And I was crying when I was there. And they had already killed the dogs that I came to save. But I went back that day. I was driving and crying at the same time. But I wanted to do something for at least some of them who were there. But I know I couldn't rescue like hundreds of dogs. So what I did, I was driving and I said, okay, I have to change. I have to think about something. So I started smiling at the same time, crying and smiling at the same time. And that allowed me actually to step back and think about, hey, I can't save all of them, but what I can do is save a couple of them. So I went back the next day, even though that place was like hell on earth for me. I actually called them to tell them I want to rescue this dog and this dog. But they were like, we don't know who they are. Like, they wouldn't remember. So I had to go back and choose them. But that was all because I started to smile, even though I was in deep, deep pain, even though I was crying, because that allowed me to think about a plan and to get out of that stress, to get out of that state that didn't allow me to think and move
Precisely.
from pain to doing something and action. So smiling is a very big one as well
I
for
love
me.
that. Yeah, and it really is, right? I mean, there are studies done where you just put a pen in your mouth, and because it's in your mouth, you kind of smile, right?
I know. I
And
was going to mention it, and I was like, oh, never
right?
mind.
No,
I know that.
it's a brilliant one. You know,
Yeah.
you do that for a minute or three, and it actually signals all kinds of things. And equally true, this is a fun fact. I read this. I can't remember, where did I read this? Was it Amy Cuddy? Yeah, it's probably Amy Cuddy's book, the TEDx talker. She's talking about body posture and stuff like that. I think I can't remember the book. Is it called Posture? Maybe it's called Posture by Amy Cuddy. She's a brilliant one. She talks about how when you put Botox in your face, especially in your forehead, people feel less depressed because they can't frown. So when they can't engage those muscles, you're
It's
not
not
gonna,
sending the message
yeah,
to the brain.
you're not triggering, the normal depression or the normal
Yeah.
anxiety processes. Now, there is a cost to that because they can't necessarily frown, but they can't really smile either. So
Yeah.
because of that, they kind of realize that they live more on a very even
Neutral.
level, neutral. But I wouldn't even call it neutral. It's just emotionless.
Yeah.
But maybe that is neutral. But I find that so interesting. Just imagine how you can hijack, reverse engineer the things that, we said that before. The meaning you give something will influence the experience you have, right? And there is still that, time when you can almost hijack it by changing the physiology.
Yeah.
And you can kind of go like, let's back this up. I'm still in control here. I think it's just a brilliant one. And
It is.
thank you for sharing your horrible story with
Yeah,
those
that was the most painful story of
poor
my
animals.
life.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. We have a couple of questions. It's follow-up questions from Sarah. So what do you think is the biggest skill that you have learned as an entrepreneur?
Biggest skill I've learned as an entrepreneur, I think it's getting back up. But that's why I mentioned earlier, the first thing you need to do if you want to be an entrepreneur is to learn to face failure and get back up. That's what I've learned so far. My latest failure was last month in February, March. Launched a program, got zero out of it. And I went all in, like I had the designs, I had everything done. And it just turns out that I was not targeting the people that I really wanted to work with. I was not resonating with that audience because I was not passionate about that. It was that simple. Like now I can say it like this. If you had talked to me about that at the beginning of March, I'd be like, oh my God, it's the end of my business.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the biggest skill I've learned, to get back up and to get back up, not only get back up, but get back up and say, hey, I tried this, it did not work. What did I learn from that? And how do I move forward from that? That's very important. Not just say get back up and move forward. Because I've been there too. I got back up at the beginning of my business when things didn't work, and I just moved forward. And I forgot to look back and say, hey, that's not working. What did I learn from that? Because this is the real power, right? Where there was something that I had to learn from that so I can move forward the right way. So it's get back up, look back, and then move forward. That's the
it.
biggest one that I've learned. And I continue to learn. And I can tell you, it gets easier. It doesn't get easy. It just gets easier compared to the last time.
Yeah.
It's still tough to face.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're absolutely right on that. I think it's the reflection, it's the learning opportunity that helps you. I often say that reflection is what can help turn the experience into a skill. And this is something that I often saw at IKEA, mentoring young, hungry leaders. They just quickly want to know how to get, replace me, how they can have my seat, right? And I often told them, okay, if there's one thing you want to do, it's to learn to reflect, meaning learn to learn. Because I've known a lot of leaders, I've seen a lot of people face adversity, face challenges and situations, and sometimes overcome it, other times not. And because they're not learning from that, they're not reflecting on it. If they were successful, they don't know why. If they failed, they do not know why. So they're not prepared once they meet a similar situation, right? So I in my world, it's when you reflect, you stop and you go, what's this thing trying to learn? Teach me? Like, what's trying to emerge? When you start seeing that, that allows you, I think, to turn that experience into a skill, a tool that you can bring out the next time you need it.
Absolutely.
Sarah's, we're getting some good feedback from Sarah there. It's all good. And Karen, no, we're all just, here we go. Yeah, there you go. Precisely. I like how you shared your latest failure, which is just like, you just had that. You just knew that. I went like, what's my latest failure? I should probably know. But I think it's just feedback. So in some way, I'm going like, when did I get feedback the last? That's probably in my mind. But I like that you could just, on cue, bring up a failure.
I'm a recent recovery. I'm still recovering from that, so it's top of mind.
Yeah, I get it.
But I pivoted, right? Got back up and pivoted, and we're talking about pivot today, and that was a pivot in my business. So I know we're talking about career pivots, but within your business as well, there are so many pivots that you will have to do to adapt to the market, to adapt to who you are, to who you're becoming as well. Because you may start your business doing something, and then as you grow into the person or to the next level, then you want to pivot. Things change for you. You want to do things differently, and you have to learn to pivot. That's very important. Adapt and pivot.
I think so. Who was that? Max Gladwell, who wrote the book. Am I saying this right? Yeah, I might be thinking about the wrong person. There is a book. Malcolm Gladwell.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Who wrote the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Yeah, I heard that.
Right? And I mean, the book in itself is great. And the saying, just the title, just says it all.
It's enough.
it's enough. I mean, if you can't afford the book or you don't have the time, just read the cover and that's it. You just walk away with that and start reflecting on it. Because it's really that, like, understanding that what got me to this place is not going to get me to the next place. Right? If you want something new, you need to do something new.
Yeah.
So, adaptability, resilience, all of those things come into play when, you're trying to get to the next level. You're trying to achieve something new. Well, you can't solve, how do you say that, grade 5 math problems with perhaps like grade 3 math problem understanding, right? So you kind of need to, this is for me to learn new things so that I can handle these new grade issues or situations.
Yeah, that's very true. You need to become a whole new person if you want to go to the next level. So growth has to be at the core of everything that we do, I believe. Your personal growth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've said that a couple of times already. Personal growth, once you got into that whole thing, that really transformed a lot for you. You became more aware and all of those things. What has been some of the sources for your personal growth?
So like I said, when I was at Microsoft, as part of the corporate training, I had the opportunity to attend different trainings across the world. But aside from that, I had a mentor back home who was doing different kinds of trainings from sources such as from John Maxwell, from Darren Hardy, and all of these things. So he was certified in all of these trainings that he brought to me. I am a John Maxwell certified, so his books are amazing, and that has been one of the things that has helped me as well. But mostly for me, it has been, so one of my mentors, his name is Paul Marnelli. So started as a janitor, now he's like a $500 million business owner. So he talks a lot about the brain, how it works, how everything comes from within. This has been really for me the things that has shifted, that has allowed me to continue to move forward. Part of which was the book Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if you're familiar with the book. It's by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And so he taught that. I've been through the program a couple of times to really have. So he talks in the book about having a clear desire, having faith, he talks about the subconscious mind. We've been talking about that for a bit now. He talks about perseverance and persistence. So this is one of the key one that really made a difference in my life. And until today, I'm still part of a mastermind with a couple of other ladies where we continue to study the book. And every time we talk through it, it's like, I didn't see that the last time. One quote that I have my vision board right there. It's right in the middle of my vision board. And that speaks directly to getting up in your business, getting back up in your business. It says, a quitter never wins and a winner never quits. It's right in the middle of my vision board. I see it every day and I live by that. And I have to say, seeing that every day has allowed me to face the failures that I have in my business head on and just get right back up, because I know if I quit, I'm not going to win. It's like anchored within me. I cannot quit anymore. I just have to continue. So that was one of the main things. I don't know if that answered your question. That was a little bit longer.
No, it's perfect. I think it's pretty beautiful. I mean, you obviously mentioned a really, really powerful book, one of the books on personal development, I think. And as you said, you've gone through different programs, learned from different, experts or people who are knowledgeable, and you had your own mentor. I think those are really powerful sources, and because there's so many different things out there, and I often say, like, go find whatever resonates with you, but also make sure that you're finding something, that you are engaging in something, that you're on a path of self-exploration.
Absolutely,
right?
that's very important.
And I think you showed a great path for how you did it.
Yeah, and I think there are 3 ways to do it. And I wrote that in the article that I just published in Thrive Global. Number one, if you're just getting started, you don't have the means to go and do trainings and all of that, get a book. Get a book. Like, watch some videos on YouTube, connect with one of the speakers and find what they do, what books they have written, and get that book and study it. Study it and apply it. Like I said, it's self-help. Don't make it shelf-help. Like, just put it on your shelf and looks good over there. It doesn't serve you. Made the author a little bit richer, didn't do anything for you. Read it, apply it. The other one is personal development trainings, and masterminds is a great one because you get to tap into the knowledge of others, creating new ideas. This has been the key one for me. So with the help of mentors and other people. And then the last one, which is the most powerful of all the processes I think that we have, is coaching, one-to-one coaching, where you really get to find your answers within yourself and feel empowered out of these coaching program, if the coaching is done well. Because people say they're coaches nowadays, but they're really mentors where they're going to tell you what to do. Coaching is not about telling you what to do. Coaching is about helping you to find your own answers, and therefore making you empowered, feeling empowered and more confident to move forward. So these are the 3 things I think that comes to mind when you talk about personal development and growing.
Perfect. I think that's a great roadmap. And I kind of want to make a shout out for that, because I read your article. It was published yesterday, thriveglobal.com.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a really good one. It goes into your own personal journey on how you lost your job twice and how you came back from that and build your own business, but you also go into those like 3 levels of how you can start or maintain a personal growth trajectory. And I think that's a really good one. So I mean, for anyone who's listening, thriveglobal.com I think is fantastic. It's a great source for really good articles anyway, so but I'm glad to that you got to contribute to that conversation.
Me too.
So before, I kind of want to ask you one last question. And before we do that, I'm also like, what want to ask you, if people are resonating with what you're putting out there today and they want to stay in touch with you, maybe they want to get a personal recommendation on a book or mastermind class they can attend, where can they connect with you?
They can connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, Nausheen Saumtally. I don't know if there's a way to type my name. Oh, I do see it.
Yeah, and we're running it on the screen, so yeah.
So that's Instagram. I'm on Instagram all the time. So
Great.
You can find me there. My website is elevate-now.ca. Oh, it's there as well. So you can also find me there.
Yeah. You've got are you running a membership or some community,
I am.
right?
So I pivoted to personal development trainings, and I have a membership, which is exactly what I have been through personally. So I thought, so when I had to pivot, right, I said, what did I go through? How did I reach the point where I am today? And I put that in a membership, and this is what I launched. It's called Unleash Your Genius membership, Unleash Your Genius Blueprint.
That's amazing. So again, like if someone's watching this and going like, wow, I want what she's having, well, you just go to your website and apply.
It's there.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, okay. So the final question, it's one of those questions I kind of tend to ask towards the end for anyone who's coming on the show. Say that you have the microphone to the whole world and everybody's listening. Mm-hmm. What's the one message that you would love to convey that they would take away from your time speaking to them?
Oh my God, there's so many messages for that. I think the one thing that I'm going to tell them is that what you're seeing currently in front of you is not the whole story. There's so much more that you are not able to see currently because your perspective is like this. So invest in yourself, grow yourself so that you can expand your perspective and spot the opportunities that are right there, but you're not able to see it. So there's more to you than what you're seeing today.
That's good. I like that. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. On that topic, how can one explore that? Like if someone's just like heard that, including me, and like, yeah, that is true, I guess. How do I explore that? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I'll take you back to the personal development training because this is what happened for me. I didn't say, hey, I want to expand my perspective, and how do I do that? I found a training, I did it, and then that led to another, that led to another, that led to another. In that process, my perspective expanded. I found my passion. I started to see opportunities around me, opportunities coming to me, and this is how it happened. Just personal development training, and which again I put in my membership. Everything you need to know. And these are things like understanding the mind, understanding what the comfort zone really is, how to get out of it, understanding yourself. I'm a disc behavioral analysis consultant as well, so understanding yourself, self-awareness is a key piece to that. And I love the disc for that because it's simple. It gives you that foundation that you can start to build on along with your confidence. So yeah, personal development training. And if you just want to get started, and that's the three things that I mentioned earlier as well. Self-help, trainings and masterminds, and then one-to-one coaching. That's where you get started.
I like it. I mean, why I'm asking is because I like what you're saying in terms of it's almost like the more you do, the more you see, right? And you kind of still need to start somewhere because if you don't take that first step, you're still not gonna see more either. So yeah, I think that is powerful, and I think we can anyone can start somewhere, right? Exactly. Even if it's something super small, listening to a great podcast or watching a YouTube video, right? You start somewhere, and it tends to lead elsewhere, and
And wherever you're getting started, pay attention about what is it that you're liking or not liking. And then whatever you like, you look more for that. This is what happened for me. Started somewhere and started to like the mind piece and invested more time in that. And this has led to where I am today. I didn't sit down and say, what do I want to do? What training should I be doing? Like, it didn't start like that. I went broad. And then the funnel started to build in terms of where I want to go, where I want to grow.
Yeah. That's another great tip, I think, because a lot of times it can feel overwhelming. There are a lot of informations out there. There are a lot of options. So where should you begin? Well, anywhere, and you just cross things out and follow the what's the Kondo? Follow the joy, follow the spark. What Maria Kondo, the organizing expert, she's got something that she always
Kondo, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's whatever it is, just follow that spark, that joy, that thing that feels like, oh, I often talk about that when I slow things down for myself and my clients. Like, is there a pull or is there a push?
Mm-hmm.
Are you pulled towards it, or is there a push, like a push kind of like I should do it? Or is it like, oh, I'd love to do it? And, for a lot of times, slowing things down and tapping into that is a great way to figure out what is for you and what's not for you.
Absolutely. Very true. I think what she said is, does this spark joy in you? Like your clothes, right?
There you go.
Joy in you.
You've watched the show. You've seen it.
One episode, I think.
Yeah, me too. It's a nice one. I like it, but I'm a little bit of a minimalist, so to me, it's just entertainment. It's nice and all, but I didn't really dive too deep into it. But it's good. It's had an impact on people all over the world, I think. So that's
Definitely.
a good thing. All right. Thank you so much for being part of this show today. I'm really, really glad that we had this conversation.
It was an absolute pleasure. I had so much fun, and I hope the viewers learned something, going to apply something. This is another way actually to for self-help, right? To get started. Yeah. So what is it that you like from that? Go and look more for that. Easy.
There you go. And if they do want to have feedback or bounce a few ideas off of you, obviously they can find you on Instagram, on your website. And I think that's if you find this inspiring or interesting, then just reach out. I think that is super, super helpful.
Anytime, just reach out to me.
Nausheen, it was amazing. Thank you very much for being part of the show, and I wish you a great day. I think it's still daytime for you, right? It's getting late for me. Yeah. Good. So thank you again for coming on the show.
It was a pleasure.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Well, guys, thank you very much for being part of this show. I'm super, super grateful, super, super happy every time that you show up live, you share your comments and share your questions. I think that is lovely. And today was a great episode. It was a really relaxed and laid back episode. And as I said before, we were obviously going to talk about way more things than just pivoting in your career. And I'm super glad we had that conversation. This was a conversation about personal development, growth, resilience, adaptability, all very, very, current and important topics right now. Okay, cool. So next week, we're going to be in the same place as normal, although we're going to not start. We started today slightly later than normal. So if you're catching us next week, we are going to be on YouTube, on Facebook, and you're going to catch us at 6 p.m. UK time. And if you're watching on YouTube, do not forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. And if you're joining from Facebook, remember to like my Facebook page, Adam Kowalik, Business Mindset Coach. See you next week, same time, same place.